Hey, welcome to Tooting Green Drinks. I think most people know what Green Drinks is all about. We've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years. Pre-lockdown, we met at the Selkirk pub, but we've had a fantastic time through lockdown with Green Drinks, particularly last spring, when it was a real place for people to maintain a connection, particularly during that really chaotic first lockdown in the UK. And in all of our areas where some people were incredibly isolated incredibly quickly. So it's been a joy and a pleasure to host these green drinks. I haven't done for a while. Last one was in January, but we're getting back in the groove. Couple of things about what's going on with Transition Town Tooting. The first is a project called Pollinator Paradise. Let me see who's involved in Pollinator Paradise. A few people. Fantastic. So this is all about planting for pollinators and is leading up to a moment of competition. Yes, there'll be judges marching the streets of Tooting, welcoming your bribes to see which front garden or public facing spot is the best for pollinators. So that's that going on. I'm just going to pop a link in if that sounds interesting. Pop a link in the chat about that. And hand over to Hilary, who's going to just give us 30 seconds on Tooting Share and Repair.
Yeah, so basically Tooting Share and Repair is about celebrating all those people who love to fix and mend things and getting people really thinking about mending and fixing and not throwing things away. And that's everything from electronic gadgets and electrical to clothes and furniture and jewellery, you name it. We're into fixing and mending it, and it seems to have really tapped into a nerve. We've got 250 people already on our Facebook page, and Jenny and Gemma from Meet and Make Spaces are running a bit of a campaign to share your repair on social media. So you might spot that share your repair, and people are kind of posting up things that they're really proud to have fixed and mended. We're hoping to have a big weekend of fixing and mending in July, and then again in October, and we might even have a photography competition of photographs of people who are great fixers and menders. I mean, we've got an ambition to have a space in Tooting, which would be a kind of workshop, but that's our long-term goal. So yeah, follow us on Facebook. I think I always popped it in the chat there. Thanks, Rick.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much, and welcome to those of Greater Tooting. I noticed my friend Millie's in the room. Can we stretch to where you are being thought of as Greater Tooting? This is a question maybe we'll think about through the evening, but we'll get that answer where Millie is in the world in a moment. We're just doing a little bit of an introduction here, but you are in the right place to hear from Mary and incredible edible Todmorden. So the third thing is we're developing a new website for those who follow Transition Town Tooting. So watch out for that in the coming weeks. I'll just say, hey, to stay connected, there's a few links here. If you haven't got them already, I'll pop them in the chat there. So a little bit of Transition Town Tooting and Transition in London. But I want to hand the chat over to you for the next few minutes, and just for you to put your name, whereabouts in Tooting you are or aren't, and what brought you to the evening tonight. Why did you come? What are you interested in that brought you here to this space this evening? So just pop that in the chat, and it'll just be a pleasure to see that rolling on for the next minute or so. So what's your name? Where'd you come from in Tooting or beyond? The Cilla Black questions. And then what brought you to this session this evening? Thank you, Millie. The mystery is revealed. Great, so we've got Tooting Beck and Broadway. It's my neck of the woods, that. Tooting Beck side, South Graveney, so that's right the other side. Caitlin and Q. So yeah, we are attracting Greater Tooting tonight. Fantastic. Great to see the inspiration, and the invitation has reached a little bit further than Tooting. Lots of growers, sustainable fooders. People moving and taking messages and experiences elsewhere too. That's great. Fantastic. Thank you. Keep them coming in. Yeah, Balham. Balham's not really Balham. It is Tooting Borders, isn't it? Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to my co-facilitator for the evening, Rosina.
Hello, everyone. So I'm very pleased to see all of you, and it's great to have such a good attendance for this event, which I'm very excited about. I'm personally very excited about, and it's going to be about hearing the experiences of incredible edible Todmorden and the project that they set up regarding food growing within Todmorden, within the Todmorden community, it'll be really good to hear their experience, and mainly because I think it would be great to see whether there's something we could set up a similar project in Tooting, around Tooting, and whether there's interest in doing something similar, or maybe not the same, but something on similar lines. So that's what we're going to be learning about today. There's going to be so Mary Clear, she's part of Edible Todmorden. She will be talking about how it was set up and the experiences. Then we will take some time to reflect on what's on the presentation, and we will go into breakout rooms because there's quite a few of us, so probably 2 or maybe 3 breakout rooms where we can actually just reflect on what has been discussed and what our own understanding of food growing is in Tooting and what the possibilities might be. So there's 2 questions that we can consider. The first is, what community food growing projects are happening in our local area, and what opportunities do you see for spaces and places that could be planted up? So basically people's thoughts around what could be set up within Tooting, around Tooting. So that's what we would like to learn about today, and I'm sure we're going to have some really interesting conversations. So I'm really looking forward to finding out about Edible Todmorden. So yeah, so let's go. So Mary.
Okay. Yeah, no, we're going to do something quick first, Rosina. I'm just going to show you what we're going to do is pop you into breakout rooms for 5 or 10 minutes. So just short to consider these questions. What community food growing projects are happening in our local area now? And what opportunities do you see for spaces and places that could be planted up? So this is like a warm-up, really getting us located in Tooting. And I'm going to share this tool with you. If you can see the chat, what's called a Jamboard. So click on that link. Don't worry, you'll be in groups. So there'll be one person at least who's cool with Jamboards. And this is just so we capture a little bit from tonight and we can carry the story going forward. So if you click on that link, I've called it Incredible Edible ... Tooting ? Who knows what will happen after this meeting? And there's 2 pages on there. I've just put a little tag in the middle. It's called Tooting Community Food Projects I Love Because. And I'll just share my screen for just 30 seconds and show you how this works. So you can see. So it looks like this. There's the little tag. At the top here, you've got what looks like little panes, 1 of 2. If you click on the right arrow, you'll see a little bit of that second question, new possibilities, where in the wilds of Tooting? So for the next 8-10 minutes or so, explore these couple of questions in little groups. Say hi to each other, just tune in and get a little bit warmed up about food growing in Tooting. And to do that, what you're going to use is this post-it sticky note sign here. So this is like a post-it board, basically. If you click on that, just to the left here in the middle, this is what comes up. And you might say, I'm going to put one in here. This is everyone will be contributing to the same board. So I'm going to say Ravenstone Primary School Edible Garden, which is a project I'm coordinating. And when you click save, it comes up behind. When you click cancel, the sticky note goes away. And you can move it around Someone's already put the community garden, yeah. So make them succinct but explanatory. So if someone else is looking at them and they haven't heard of that before, they'll know what you're on about, okay? So let me stop sharing my screen. It's going to be as simple as that. And yeah, trust that somebody in your group will be okay with it. And indeed, if not, then just pop on back to the main space and we'll help you out, okay? Does that sound okay? Is everyone located enough with Jamboards? Yeah? Okay, so enjoy the conversation. Say hi to each other. And yeah, I'll pop you into the breakout rooms now, and then we'll come back. I'll chuck the messages and the questions in the chat and pop them into the room, so you can see what we're suggesting to chat about. In fact, I'm going to pop them in the chat just now. Okay, enjoy your conversations, and we'll see you in a short while. Great. So, you there, Rosina, or you? Ah, no, you're Zoom landing. Okay, great. Hey there, welcome back, everybody. I always love it when the majority of people only come back when the breakout room closes. Sorry to cut you off if you're in mid-flow, but welcome back. It's fantastic to see those Jamboards populated with places we love and places of new possibilities and new potential. Rosina, do you want to steer us through to the next bit? Oh, you're on mute.
So, are we talking about the Jamboard now?
No, we're just going to introduce, we'll have a look, we'll keep those thoughts on the Jamboard for later, for after Mary's presentation. But yeah, we just wanted to introduce Mary and appreciate you're on a mobile phone and stuff. Would you like me to do that, or are you all set?
Yeah, no, I mean, I want to introduce Mary, who was part of incredible edible Todmorden, where they established a food growing in planters around Todmorden, and she's just going to talk about that project, and then we can reflect on that and ask some questions after we've had a discussion in the breakout room. So welcome, Mary.
Thank you. Shall I do it then? Yes, okay. We'll share the screen. And here we go. Oh, this is happening too easy. Something's going to go wrong. Something will go wrong.
No, it's good. It's all good.
It's good. Oh, fantastic.
There you go. That's all
I
good.
have to stand up if I'm presenting, so I can be present in my thing. So I've got about 25 minutes. I'll talk rather fast, but never mind. We'll all get through. So I'll give you the kind of beginning, which was in 2008. We got some pretty bad news, which was the beginning. We all woke up one morning and found out the bankers were really beginning with W, and they'd been very naughty. And we were absolutely in a worldwide economic crash. And we're a small northern town, a long way from anywhere, and we got hit pretty bad. So we were worried, not just about ourselves and the loss of infrastructure, the loss of jobs, the loss of voluntary sector. We were worried for our children and our children's children. So we thought, what can we do to kind of have some kind of reaction to this without creating an empire, without employing people, without owning anything? We thought we'd use the skills of the community to create a greener, kinder, more connected town, because we got to wake up. So that's exactly what we thought we'd do, and we're still on that road. So our first steps were to connect with people, to connect people together, to connect them with the soil, the seasons, to show actually, you know, Morrison's isn't the only place you can get pak choy or parsley, you can get it in the streets where we live. And we really thought it was important when all the world is in chaos to create a kindness culture, because whatever happens, wherever you are in the world, when shit happens, there's two kinds of people. Those people who've got stuff and those people who haven't. And they're dangerous camps because they'll fight each other. So we thought if we could create a kinder culture across our town, it would really prove useful at times of great insecurity and the mess the planet's in at the moment. So having no land or anything, we thought we'll grow in public spaces, and we will ask for forgiveness rather than permission, because it's quicker. And our greatest resource then and now, all these years later, is our people, our energy, and our absolute positive hope for the future. So twice a month, pretend it's not COVID, in normal times, twice a month on a Sunday, always the same time, in the same place, we meet, we garden, we fix the town, paint things, clean things, pick up dog muck, do whatever is required in any town, in any part of the UK. And then afterwards we eat together. So about 50 people sit down with, maybe they know them, maybe they don't know them. There's a whole range of people, from people with addictions or learning disability to TV producers. We all sit down and we share a meat-free meal, and it's a really fantastic experience. So in our early actions, we thought we'd grow we would call it our propaganda gardens. So we haven't got any brochures, we haven't got any calling cards, we haven't got any fancy office. What we're going to use to tell people who we are and what we're doing, we'll use the power of words, and we love the word kindness. It somehow hits. I defy anybody to say it doesn't trigger something in them. And we would grow edible plants anywhere where people could see them. So that really does mean the town centre. I mean, this is the railway station car park. And we would share them. People said, "You're mad. You're going to plant food, tend it, look after it, and someone from up the road could take it." And we went, yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. We love to clean up our town. So we're not into permaculture or any kind of culture. We're ordinary Joes being active citizens, being the change we want to see. So we've done it all through lockdown, clean and repair the town. We plant lots of food to share. We've got more sophisticated at it. We've learned what works, what doesn't work over the years. And a really key tenet, because none of us are getting any younger, the planet's up the creek, we've got to act now. So we believe in forgiveness, not permission sometimes. So this is our police station. It's south facing. We wanted a garden. We could have gone on for years writing documents and proposals, or we could have cracked on. And what we've done is cracked on. Over time, it all gets lost and the police think it's their garden and they must have thought of it. We let them think that. We really love benches. We love benches because for maybe 3 decades, the Tories, Labour, Liberals, all of them, every government has got rid of them. They've got rid of them on the idea that if we have benches, people will sleep on them. If we have benches, people will gather. If we have benches, young people will drink. And then when local authorities are absolutely strapped for cash, we're not going to have any benches because they're a luxury and we can't afford it. So we have decided that we like benches. Older people like to sit down. It's a great thing for loneliness. So we've started making benches, commissioning benches from artists and installing them. And this picture paid particular attention. Everyone's slightly smirking, and they're smirking because these 2 policemen, there's the cement on the floor. We're just cementing in unlawfully a bench and they helped carry it, bless them. So they made it legal for us, obviously, because they've had a hand in it. It's a proper bench. So we're very passionate about benches, and we're passionate about, you can follow the rules and get a risk assessment. You can get architects, you can get designers, planners, engineers, and you can do all that guff if you want. We prefer just to put benches in sensible places. We really love to exploit children. Children are like locusts. For a cigarette end, buy a pair of litter pickers, and honestly, of people who say children aren't interested in gardening, they know nothing about children. Children are there to work for us, and my God, they love it. We're really interested in recovery, and on our board of directors, we have a position for recovery, and we have a guy who's in recovery, and his job solely is to look at everything we do and find out how can we reach out to people in recovery, because there, but for the grace of any old person's gods, go we, because it could, they're members of our community, whether it's drugs, alcohol, anxiety, sadness, whatever it is, we're into people recovering. We're self-sufficient. So when we first started in 2008, we used public money. And after a while, we saw that using public money meant we were there, we had to work for the man, and we're not prepared to work for the man. We're prepared because we're motivated by love, kindness, and joy, not to work for the man. So we accidentally, I'd like to think we wrote a document and a paper. We didn't do any of that. We accidentally became self-sufficient on people from all over the world, as in this picture, in the middle of winter when there's not a single plant growing, started visiting us. So we made a map, we made a booking form and said, if you've got money, pay, come on a tour and pay. I think it's £6. If you haven't got money, you can come on the tour anyway. And on the basis of that, we are now self-sufficient. So people have come from all over the world, and they've gone back to parts of the world and set up their own thing, because we're not precious about, we would say, just copy anything we're doing, do as you please. Life's too short to worry about it. And everyone's doing it differently. There's a project in Japan. The Japanese send people here, which is most peculiar, every year to talk about it. And you can see they've got a fence. Well, we don't have any such thing as a fence anywhere, but we also are not interested in how other people do it. It's not our concern. We're just pleased people are doing something for the planet. And I think essentially, we really want people to know that we're not victims. We're not victims of the state. We're not victims of politicians. We have power. And this country has sleepwalked into a position where groups of people get together and talk and talk and talk and talk. Well, forget all that talking and let's have action, because we do have power. And let me reassure you, I'm in the know in this. The prisons are full. Nobody is going to go to prison for putting out benches, for growing food in public places, for taking over the police station garden. Truly, you will be applauded. You will not go to prison. And if you do, or if it was me, I'd be glad of it, because every prison would like a gardener, and I'd be that person. So don't worry. There's no need to worry. We have power. There's a group of old codgers, mainly men, running the country. If you ever have a television and watch that Parliament live, a lot of them are asleep, and they've got power and they're asleep. So think how much power us awake people have got. So we collaborate. We're great believers in not owning things, being free, doing what gives us joy, and collaborating. So we've collaborated with some people called the Real Junk Food Project, who set up, is so beautiful, it's poetry, isn't it? The Kindness Share House. So they ship in food that's destined for landfill, and they redistribute it. So here in this town, we feed about 80 families, 80 or 90 a week on a Monday with freegan boxes. And we thought we'd experiment how far we could go with waste food. And we held a huge event. All the people queuing under the shade are queuing for food that was destined for landfill. And we just got a whole load of cooks to cook it up to see if you could actually feed 1,000 people with a budget of 0. It's possible. You can have great fun with food. This is our mosque. It's the only mosque in the kingdom that's got kindness above the door. We really, you know, lots of cafes and pubs, lots of people have followed suit, but well, you know, when the mosque asked for a kindness sign, it was such joy. And I'll be straight, you don't want to be one hand clapping, oh yeah, we're working with people of different faiths. It's really hard work and you've got to be really creative. So I'll give you an example. On Pancake Day, we always cook pancakes for the market traders to raise money. And we said, we're going to cook pancakes and pakoras, and the imam's going to come and cook pakoras. And all the guys are, you can't race with pakoras. I said, well, you'll have to practice. So it was just beautiful for the imam to cook pakoras and all the people racing with them. So you've just got to be creative in your ideas and find a way to work together. Because, I mean, it really is a great way to bring people together. And it is the glue of community. And that's our membership. If you eat your in, then you don't do any paperwork. We're really, really passionate about actions, not talk. So these are the signs in our town. This is what they look like, because over the years, it slipped from one directorate. It might have been in highways, then it'll have gone into community. And over time, it gets lost and there's no money. We wake up, there's no money. So nothing's done. Now you could write letters, Mrs. Angry from so-and-so, or you could blame the government, you could blame Europe, you could blame anyone, or you could think, do you know what? I'm going to do something about it. And it's all we did. We just measured up the holes, got a designer, made new maps and put them in. No one's ever noticed. They've been in for 4 years. In fact, we did them for other people, like the Walkers group, the town centre blue plaques. I mean, why wouldn't you just fix things? Who is going to grab you for doing it? This is this week's work. This is a bridge going over to an area and the panels were kicked out. So again, we've measured up the panel. We've got an artist to paint a beautiful nature scene, but I haven't got a slide of it. But what's so brilliant is the local pie man went out and weeded the edge, and then a couple on Sunday with a power washer have power washed all the bridge, and it's beautiful and clean. It's really lovely. So I don't think anyone's going to knock on the door searching for bridge fixers. It'll be all right. And this is just to say that kindness is our currency. It's got us a long way and it will get us as far as we ever want to go, because anybody can do it. You know, it's not fancy or clever. It's a simple thing. Now, you are screen sharing and it's stopped. Oh, it's moved. So, this is just to say, actually, we're not that interested in growing food. It was at the time in 2008, that's all we could thought of. Packet of seeds, £1, you know, it's cheap. But in lockdown, oh my God, it's such an opportunity for the planet, for all of us. It's really an opportunity of change. This is the most exciting time for anyone to start anything. We decided, we were an exempt group. We decided that anyway, but it turns out we were. So we carried on working. And we started building little libraries. And there are 13 now in town. They're absolutely fantastic. Some are landscaped, some have got seats and benches, and they're full every day, full to bursting. And look at this beautiful one. People really said, oh, is there a rule? You know, can we buy one? No, you can't buy one. You've got to make it. So we've got all sorts of them, and we've just got permission. We had to get this permission. We've got a whodunit library with a bullet hole in the side for the police station. So it's going to be full of crime books. We're really excited about that. And we've got, we've got the cutting pattern, so you can download it for a simple one. And if you go to Incredible Little Libraries Facebook page, you'll see there's a open source guide thing, so you can make them. We haven't got an office. We haven't got a filing cabinet. We don't possess stamps. We use social media. We've got 300 or 400 people on a shout list that goes out when we want something doing or we want to meet up. We've got 2 old iPads, no staff, and it's just perfect. Absolutely perfect. I think it's really, really important to stop worrying about the old ways of doing things and just trust the people, because there's nothing special about us. There's nothing special about Transition Tooting. In everybody's heart, there's a fear. There's fear for the planet. There's fear for their children. There's fear for their education to get on the property market, fear of the loss of species. So just trust the people. They want to join you. They need a leader. They need someone to help. So just to say that kindness is our currency and it's worked for us, and joy is our fuel. Without joy, you're not going to last long, because my God, I've been to France. It's really big in France, incredible edible, but they're so boring, the French. They talk for hours. I've had to tell them, for God's sake, cut the talking out. I don't understand what they're saying. I don't speak French either, but they do recognize they talk a lot. I'm convinced, and I'm living proof, and Todmorden's living proof, there is another way. There is another way to get jobs done, truly. And it's not complicated and it's not clever. Anybody can do it. It's simple. And these would be our top tips for activists. I think dream big. You know, if you dream, if you've got pretty small ambitions, I don't know. I think it's better to dream big and never quite get there. Eating together is so important. Our gardening Sundays, we used to have, if it was a great day, 10 people. Now we've got a minimum of 50 people. Anyone in the town, no money can change hands in our organisation. We don't like to touch it in any way with the public. It's messy. So the food is free. Anyone who's hungry can come up and have dinner. Anyone who's a tourist can they don't have to garden or do anything. They could just walk in. And now our problem is there are too many people, because organising gardening and cleaning is one thing. Organising the cooking of food for 50 people on a 4-ring electric thing is pretty hard. Anyway, it keeps people together. It grows an organisation. People love it. Keep meetings and documents short. So I would say anything that goes over an hour, really, I'd be having some sort of breakdown. So as the chairperson, I must say I'm very lucky, because I can say, whoa, the meeting's gone on too long. Put joy on the top of the agenda. You know, when I hear people go, oh my God, I've got to go to a meeting. We meet together online at the moment for our business meetings every 6 weeks. And I can absolutely tell you, it's a joy. It's an absolute joy. Be in it for the long game. What's destroyed, in my personal opinion, a person who's worked in the voluntary sector for 30 or 40 years, is 3 years. 3 years funding, 1 year fiddling about. Oh, I'm mapping. Oh, I'm consulting. 1 year spending money. 2nd year, actually, I'm looking for a job, because it's only a 3-year contract. It's destroyed community development. Be in it for the long game. We can't change cultures in 3 years. And I think I'm not one for being organised, but if you schedule meetings a year in advance, same day, same place, boom, boom, it'll all work smoothly. Beautiful. That's pure advertising, come for a tour. And that's the end. And look at that, 5 minutes early. So I'll come back. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Mary. That was a really, really inspiring talk. And it was really interesting to hear how your projects go beyond actually food growing, that it actually incorporates quite a few different projects. And it almost feels a bit like a Transition Town group. Because within Tooting, and we have Transition Town Tooting, we have a number of different projects. So it feels quite similar to that. But I just love to hear the joy that your organisation has, you know, in the projects that they're doing and in the community feeling. And it just sounds so inspiring. So what we're going to do now is, I'm sure all of you have questions that you'd like to ask Mary, but hold on to the questions, because we're going to go back into our breakout rooms and we're going to have a time to reflect on what Mary has talked about, and to think about how could we, how could we use the advice with our own communities. What could we set up in our own communities? And thinking about the projects that have gone on the Jamboard. So we will have, is it 10 minutes, Rich, or 15?
Yeah, we thought like about 10 minutes for this breakout room. So we have a good 20 minutes together to share where we're at in Tooting, some challenges, maybe chuck some questions Mary's way, this kind of thing. Yeah, about 10 minutes. And just before we go, I'm going to welcome my good friend Dee Woods from the outer reaches of Tooting up there in the far north of the river. Welcome, Dee. So we'll pop you in a breakout room and you can bring some wisdom from the far north, Dee. Yeah, are we good to go, Rosina, you think? I think we're good to go. So I'm going to pop you in breakout rooms. Yeah, reflect on what Mary's talked about. What does that mean for our action in Tooting or where you are? Yeah, have a good time. See you in about 10 minutes. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Mary, whatever that address is, I'm sure we'll find it. So just let us know or pop us a message in the chat or whatnot. I hope you had a glorious and rich conversation. Hey there, Artur, how are you doing? Good to see you. Irene's backpack is back. Yeah, so it would be really good if you have questions to maybe drop them in the chat. Particular questions you wanted to find out more about. But we've got about another 20 minutes or so. It'd be really cool if there was something that was just too hot to handle in your conversation. It'd be really cool to hear that as we start welcoming the questions coming on in. We normally have this shared, very open discussion kind of forum, but I know it's a real pleasure having Mary here and hearing the incredible edible story. But yeah, let's just hear a little bit from the groups as we get our questions warming up here. Perhaps Hillary's group, could you kick us off? What was hot in your group? Just maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds each, and we'll get a little flavour of it. Hillary, do you want to share what was going on in your group a little bit?
I wonder whether Miranda looked like she was about to.
I was thinking. Yeah, I know it was a good show. We were all very inspired by Mary and her enthusiasm, and we were just sort of thinking about Tooting and the surrounds, and the ideas about, you know, some of the churches and has land which is not just for graveyards, but they can be a good place to or good area to work with. What else did we come up with? I liked all the
beer gardens as well, pub beer gardens. I think pub and bar beer, because I mean, I suppose the hospitality industry's taken an absolute kick in, so it's something that, you know, to make their beer gardens look a nicer place to be in, but also just, you know, they can use the food and yeah, or do what they like with it. But it's, yeah, if you've got, say, a row of tomato plants going along behind, you know, while you're surrounded by tomato plants while you're having a beer, be quite a nice thing.
Yeah.
Our Weatherspoons has got big planters that they paid for, and we planted them up and put our logo on it. So our Wetherspoons, they've got that at the front. So that I think doors are open everywhere.
Mm.
Well, I used to work in hospitality before COVID hit, so that's, you know, that's where all my friends are. So definitely putting some feelers out. I could be quite happy to do that.
I love that connection, Sarah. That's a great
I've got
connection.
friends everywhere.
Yeah, fantastic. Let's hear from all the groups, and then come on back to questions. Irene, maybe if you have a question, pop it into the chat.
No, very quickly, because we didn't really discuss it very much. So we did discuss about, I mean, me personally, I wouldn't do anything that's illegal. I'm a foreigner. I don't want to be kicked out of the country. No. but in terms of growing things, so this last year has been really difficult with kids at home and everything, so I didn't do it. But in the last, I mean, since I'm in this house for my current house for like 6.5 years, I've been doing the gardens for my neighbors. We have very old elderly neighbors. Not doing the whole garden, but I grow lots of vegetables for them, and they are really and it's really easy to do because my kids help, and we just put, you know, tomatoes, and I mean, I planted lots of fruit trees as well. I just buy them because we can, and they are really happy with it. And so I think it's not just going out in the streets. Yeah. If you can help around your neighbors, and there are lots of people that, I mean, my neighbors are all single, widowed, very old, apart from 2 couples. And it's not a big deal to just go there and, like, you know, do you want some lettuces, planted some tomatoes? And they were always really happy to have it. And, you know, they would give me a bottle of wine every now and again or whatever. But it's something that that's something that it's not seen in the community, but you can do within your neighborhood.
Yeah. And
so that's just an idea that's out there.
It's interesting, isn't it? This balance between the vibe of the way you spoke, Mary, about just getting on and doing things, and the police won't mind when it's looking as glorious as that photo shows it, and the kind of, forgive the pun on a night like tonight, but the low-hanging fruit of like immediate neighbours or a community that's just actually would appreciate that energy and skill. And it reminds me of a question that came up for me and from Caitlin, who's asking, how have you been able to integrate people who may have varying degrees of willingness when it comes to guerrilla style activity? And I was kind of interested about the journey people go on when you start planting in your neighborhood, who may be not the usual suspects, not drawn to community activism or volunteering, but what kind of journey they go on over time, and how that felt like for you in Todmorden, and maybe other stories you've heard.
Oh, well, you could just walk around here anywhere and see stuff planted, but I'd need hours to tell you of all because it's a long passage of time. What is it, 12 years from 2008? So our local authority has developed a license called the Incredible Growing License. Any council land near your home you can identify that's not being used, suitable for growing food, you can get a license called an Incredible Growing License from the council. That license has been replicated in Monmouthshire and various other counties in the country. So I was a council officer for many years. The council are never the enemy. They're made up often of socialists, often of ordinary Joes. Well, they certainly aren't bankers, are they? They're not going to make tons of money. They're good people who want to say yes, but you have to frame an argument how they can say yes, or do it so they can't say no, if you get my drift. But in Todmorden, it sparked off a kind of feeling of confidence. There's a huge college in our town that was going to be sold to Audi, and the community have just obtained it. It's huge. It's 4 or 5 stories, and it's going to be a climate change college. It's the only college owned in the UK by the people. So what we've done is sparked off a whole community of growers, artists, campaigners, and creative people. And I think it takes time, but people do question, well, it's our town and we have to look after it. during COVID, this was the cleanest town for 30 miles because you can see people out with litter pickers every day of the week. There's a kind of badge of honour. It's kind of like Burberry, but we've got litter pickers and plastic bags. You know, it's the Burberry of the North. It's posh.
Love it, love it. And give us an idea, how big is Todmorden? How many people? Like
15,000 people.
15,000, okay.
In a tight, a very narrow valley, and we flood. Huge, really big problem with flooding.
Right. That's interesting. And most of us are from London, for example. Wandsworth Borough, 325,000. Tooting, 4 council wards, maybe 60,000 people. It's interesting the different contexts within which we're working, right? But that thing about time comes up time and time again. Get started over the years, build relationships,
build up small actions and join the dots.
Yeah. One question which I knew would be challenged comes from Jackie Gunn. Jackie, do you want to ask this question that you popped in the chat rather than me kind of being the voice of everyone? Don't do that, Richard.
Yeah, it was just, how on earth did you actually build those planters at the police station without them stopping you?
No, because I asked the constable. Don't ask me, Mary. Ask Sarge. Ask Sarge. Don't ask me, Mary. Ask the inspector. Ask the inspector. Oh, Mary, it has to go to Wakefield, to the property division. In other words, love, you'll be running around for months. Why don't you crack on? I said, thank you, I will. We were later awarded the Chief Constable's Award for some old malarkey. So, and yesterday when I said, please may we have a library attached to the beds, a crime library, I thought, oh, there's going to be a lot of excuses about this. And within 12 hours, yeah, go ahead, do as you please. They're really pleased because they've got people walking in behind the fence of the police station to pick salad. The Asian ladies, we grow a lot of mint for them there because they love it for their yogurt. And, you know, before, the only people that came in on their land were people who were going to kick the door down, moaning about being showing their driving license and stuff like that. So it's fabulous. It's win-win. And that's what you got to look for, win-win. You'll benefit from this. And we've set the precedent of the doctor's surgery. We've got growing beds at the fire station. So you can argue, you can say, oh, in Todmorden, they've got a true crime library as well as sweet corn in their front garden. So you've got something to bounce off, which will help you.
Nice, thanks.
Fantastic. And there's a question from Miranda as well. That question did appear from Miranda. Do you want to ask your question in the chat there, Miranda?
Hi. Can't remember. What did I say? Yes,
you
thank
said,
you very much. Very inspiring. How have you been able to keep the enthusiasm and engagement with your volunteers for all these years? How has the group managed to sustain itself?
I would say the food's quite good. We love cakes. We love really good coffee. We started off with instant, but we've got a coffee machine now. So we're very keen on, we're snobs in certain ways. Because everybody feels, you know, when a pile of Japanese come and are bowing to you, you feel proud in a little northern town. Gee, they've come all this way to look at a few manky veg by a bus stop. I think joy, the sense of belonging. A lot of people, when they very first move here, try to come because they know nobody. And you're going to meet 50 people of all different classes. And everybody wants to know a Muslim. You know, I defy anybody who says, oh, I've never been in the mosque, Mary. What's it like? Well, why don't we go in together? You know, everybody wants a way in to be connected because we're stronger connected as a community.
Have you been able to take a holiday, though, for the last 10 years?
It is a holiday. My husband's just said no. I'm saying it's a holiday. Yes, because we've stopped doing it. So another way we earn money is we go all over the world. So last year it was South Korea, Japan, it could be anywhere. But what I've done is when people ask me to go, I say, no, I'm sorry, I can't go, and say to the committee, the project is not me, it's you. So it's been really great. We've got a pub landlady on our board, and she's from Thailand. Her English isn't always that clear, and we sent her to South Korea, and everyone was going, God's sake, Mary, we can't understand what she's saying. I said, well, we're not there. So if they don't understand, it's not our problem, is it? You know, they've paid their money, they're going to get her. So we've done that thing of saying, you know, we're all in this together. So everybody can go and travel out and tell the story in your own words, not my words. So, yeah, I'm glad to have stopped all that travel. Let them go and do it. It works.
Thank you.
Amazing. And I wonder as well, it came up in lots of work settings for me in this thing called the What Next Summit that was in March. This idea or challenge or tension between the idea of duocracy, which you absolutely sing.
What's it called?
Duocracy, I'd call it. My mate Joe calls it that. Just getting on and doing, right? The kind of owning that kind of, hey, let's put a planter there. All right, just go ahead and put a planter there then. The balance of that kind of doing, coupled with those who feel like they have permission to do that. Indeed, it's come up in the chat questions, this idea of not everyone feels like they can break the rules with a small b. Do you find at all that there's the kind of people who are included in your action and the people for whom it would take a lot longer? How does that work for you? What have you seen along the way about ideas of inclusion? This could be absolutely about people who feel they have a privileged position of, yes, do you know what, I feel empowered to go ahead and do that, and people who don't. How does that work for you?
Well, I think because now Todmorden, look it up, it's very famous. It refused the Poor Law. It refused to build a workhouse. They sent troops from London to quash the rebellion when we refused to build workhouses. This has always been a non-conformist. The cooperative movement set up 8 miles away down the road. This has always been a dangerous place because of the flooding, isolated because we're a border town. So the people, quite rightly, have a sense of autonomy here. Okay. That, look, no one's going to look after us because we're in a poor area. This isn't posh here. The climate, rain, sleet and snow. We've no problem with water, unlike you would have. You know, the climate's against us, our geography's against us, our infrastructure's against us. And people say, well, and let me say, I don't even like the word guerrilla gardening or unlawful. We're only doing what's right in our hearts. And if it's not right, somebody can tell us off or ask us to apologise. I haven't yet, but I welcome it.
My friend Nick has a fantastic T-shirt saying "Good people disobeyed bad laws."
But laws are there to be challenged.
To be challenged, yeah.
They are there to be challenged. Any solicitor, lawyer will tell you that. You know.
Go ahead.
No, I don't see it in terms of breaking the law. I've got 13 grandchildren. I have to be as straight as a die. I was even upset about this because it was called green drinks. I thought that's not very inclusive. They're drinking alcohol. That's what I thought it was about. I thought, we come from a town with Muslim brothers. We wouldn't be doing that. So, you know, we think very carefully about what we do. And especially we take safety very seriously because we know how to cement a benching.
Right.
It's just the rules forbid us to do so.
Yeah, and it feels like a story of this time, doesn't it? Like challenging the laws that surround us. This idea of us taking that baton of permission another chap, Kevin Frey in Ealing in West London, does a lot of work with the council there, the local council, the borough council, after declaring climate emergency. And I'm sure many people around this group have also done some of that big energizing, knocking on the door, saying it's not enough just to say it. Talk about people who talk. Borough councils are the worst, I'd say. But he was talks about, don't wait to be a leader. Don't wait for permission to come, which is exactly what you're saying a little bit, and totally a story of this time. And indeed, Green Drinks started in the Selkirk pub. I think coming out of lockdown, we've got a real challenge there in terms of where we hold it and how we hold it, to include more people in the local conversation. But I hate to say it, we're getting close to being out of time, Mary. And we had a little idea for Hilary to give us a bit of reflections about what we've heard in this conversation and the breakout room, Hilary, that you've been in, and what it all means for our action in Tooting. So yeah, over to you, Hill.
On mute, classic, after all these months. That was such a brilliant, inspiring evening, Mary, so thank you so much for coming. I'm just going to reflect on some of the things that struck me that relate to things that we've seen in and done in Transition Tooting, because obviously we've been going for about 10 years, maybe, I don't know how long, it's something like 10 years. And I was thinking about this idea of just doing it, which was very clear for me. It was just do it. And I think that can be quite catching. It can be quite infectious in a good way. You know, it's nice to have a good infection. And I remember years and years ago when I first started Transition, and I didn't really understand what, you know, I thought you had to have permission to do things. And I remember meeting Lucy Neal, and she said, I think we should have a carnival on the main road. And I was like, well, we can do that? You know, how can we? And, you know, I would have thought, oh, you have to start with permission to do that. But we just did it. And that had an effect on me in how I've behaved ever since, was that I just thought, well, I can just do it now. And I know that has had an effect on other people that I've, you know, worked with in Transition as well. And that is quite an infectious feeling, is that actually you probably just can do it, you know. So that's brilliant to hear that. I think it's just it makes me want to do that more. And the other thing that made me think that when you put the bench up, and if you build it, they will come. I remember when we closed the bus turning circle for a day, and Dermot made those benches had made them with the refugee group out of pallets. And I was saying, he put the benches down and we turned around to do something else. We turned back and people were already sitting on them. It was like they'd been there forever. You know, they just came past for their shopping and they're like, oh yeah, we'll sit here because this is where we sit, you know, as if the bench had always been there. And we've had some really negative comments about this pocket park they're building on our road, about it's going to be drunks and it's going to be this and drug taking. So can we just not have something nice? Can we not have a playground? You know, why not? So I really like that idea. You know, just if you build it, something will happen. And then the other thing that really struck me was that idea of, which is in a transit. It's one of the transition strap lines. Is let it go where it wants to go. And I really felt that with the things you were describing, and everything that you were doing allowed space for people's creativity. So that, you know, with those library boxes, people could do their own version. And so people go, oh, I like that, but I'd like to do it my way. And, you know, I've got a funny little quirky thing that I would do with it. And I think that really energizes people, because then don't feel like they're just repeating something. They can kind of add their little spin to it, or their things. So I thought those things, so just do it. If you build it, they will come, and let it go where it wants to go. Sort of allow people's creativity. Those are the things that really struck me. I loved that. I loved this evening. It was great to have you with us, Mary. Can we not have you down here as well? You have to clone yourself.
Yes, I wish I could.
Well, I've plenty of.
Can I just say something, Richard?
Yes,
I
sure.
just want to say I'm envious of you, because after COVID, Build Back Better, everyone is looking to hold on to that lovely little bit of the pandemic, when it was quiet and when nature was bountiful, when we could, so there were sad things, but there were good things. And I think people are desperate for change. So you're so knocking on an open door. You so really are. Everyone will say yes to everything you want. I know it.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. And I'm just going to kind of close us before 9 o'clock, just to look after our time with a couple of things to share. But as is the style of how we did it in Green Drinks last year, is just to give you a minute to reflect on what you've heard, a minute in silence, just to think, what actions are you going to take forward? We've heard it time and again, just go and do. What does that mean for you and for what you're doing? It could be in Tooting, could be elsewhere. It could be your first steps into community activism, or indeed doing stuff on the high street, or breaking laws with a very small b and a very small l, let's say adjusting laws. Or it could be something with your really matured practice. What are you going to take from tonight, and what are you going to do in the weeks going forward? Now just say, just in silence for a minute, this is personal reflection time, and then we'll close out just after that. So I'll just keep an eye on time for you, but just a minute for yourselves. Okay, so that's a little space for you. I'm going to share the keeping in touch with Transition Town Tooting. You're welcome to get in touch with ideas, energy, this, that, what was that connection, etc., whatever came from your personal reflection space. And to say on May the 5th, I can't put much more in the chat, but you know how to get in touch with me or Hill or stay connected somehow. We have our next Transition Town Tooting meeting. So it'd be in the evening, about 7 till about 9, 7:30 till 9. Or should we keep it to an hour, Mary? We should keep it to an hour, I think. We should. So yeah, so that may be a place, a location place for you for the next time to get together. But I'd invite you to unmute your microphones and say a massive thank you to Mary. Mary, it's been a delight. Thanks so much for coming on the Zoom with us this evening. We all look forward to rocking into Todmorden and saying hi in person. I'm sure you'll shove a shovel in our hands to get involved should we do that. But thanks so much, and see you all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
I was going to say bye-bye. Say bye, say bye, say bye.